Hello friends, welcome to the channel. So today it will be a brief introduction to Kotlin, and you might be asking yourself, is it necessary to learn Kotlin? So my answer is yes. If you want to be a mobile developer, whether cross-platform or a single target platform such as Android, Kotlin is recommended. More so, Kotlin also supports multi-platform using Kotlin language itself compared to other frameworks such as Flutter and React. So, Kotlin currently supports multi-platform, server-side data science, and it's the most recommended language for native Android development. So probably in this channel we'll be doing lots of Android stuff and Kotlin multi-platform. So let's get started. So to get started with Kotlin, I do recommend going to the official website, that is kotlinlang.org. I'll go ahead and duplicate this, then click documents. We then get started with, so we have the Kotlin tour. So this tour will try and cover it all in the shortest time possible. And the homepage, we know what it is, we know basic syntax, but I'll take you to the Kotlin tour. Then once you know the basics, it's not a must to know everything. Once you have the foundation of the object-oriented programming pattern, then you'll be able to make software with Kotlin. So let's take the Kotlin tour. I'll go ahead, hit that. Then the first thing we'll start with, you may read this at your free time later on. Remember, the link is kotlinlanguage.org, kotlinlang.org. So let's get started with the variables. So we know what is a variable. A variable is a container that holds data when our program is being executed. So the first thing we usually start with is the hello world program. So let me duplicate this tab as well. Then click play. Then you go to the playground. So this is where we can execute our program. And what I'll do, I'll split this into two. Keep it this way. So this way you can proceed with the documentation, then run our program along the way, or you can also run it directly inside the documentation. So the first thing we know of a program, this is Kotlin. So it usually starts with the main function. This is the entry point of our program, and the only thing that our program currently does, it just prints a line, hello world. And remember that what is coding? Coding is basically telling a computer a set of instructions on how to solve a particular problem at hand or do any specific task. So it's a set of instructions. So this is our code. We are writing our code at the playground directly through our browser. So I'll just hit the run button directly. So it has printed hello world. So remember, the main function is where our program starts from, and the print line or the print function it prints text to the console. As we all can see, we have printed text hello world. We can say hello Kotlin, then when we run, it will print hello Kotlin. So in case you have any questions, be sure to put it in the comments section. So let's proceed with variables. As I said earlier, a variable store data, and we can declare, we have two types of variables. We have the mutable variables and immutable variables. So the immutable variables are variables that cannot change, and mutable variables are variables that can be changed while our program is running. And so we have two variables, mutable and immutable. So we'll start with the first type. This is the one. In another name, it's called read-only variables. So once you give it value, you can only read, but you can't write again. So reading means accessing data, writing means inputting data to the variable. So we create a variable, immutable variable, using the word val. Let's say name is equals to, no, a good way to do this, let's use gender. You can't change your gender. Let's say female. Then name, maybe name can be changed. Let's say Joy, for example. Then, so this is our program. So when I run, currently nothing happens. We have already stored these variables. So the immutable variable has female. The mutable variable has the name Joy. So I'll clear that. When I run again, nothing happens. So this is immutable, it cannot change. So when I try changing it, so that is gender. When I try changing it again to, let's say, male, then I run it again, we get an error telling us val cannot be reassigned. So the syntax for creating an immutable variable, you start with the val keyword, variable name, assignment operator, then you give it value. Then let's try updating name to James. Name is equals to James. Then run and see what happens. So we have, so my bad. So we can notice. So I made a mistake creating a mutable variable. You do that with var keyword. Apologies on that. Most of the times when I'm making apps, I usually use val keyword. That's why I caused an error. So for the mutable variable, the syntax, you start with the var keyword, then variable name, then you give it value. And so let's print out our variables. So I'll add a print line statement here. I'll print name, then copy again, then print name again. So remember, we are printing name, we expect it to have Joy, then we have changed them, now we expect it to print James. So let me run. So we have Joy, James, we have printed twice. So at this state, name initially it is Joy, then we gave it a new value, James. That's where we have it prints James. But we can also print gender. So I'll just put in gender and run our program. So we expect female. So keep this in mind. Our programs usually execute from top down. So the way you order your code determines how the execution will proceed. So let me place it here, then run. So you should expect gender to be at the top that way. Okay, so in case you have any questions under variables, please put it in the comment section. Then we can also create a variable and give it a number. Specifically, I'll give it an integer. So val age, let's say 25. Then print line age. So there it is. We have age, it is 25. So we can also do this. Let's try print this statement and see what happens. So the last two print line statements, I'll change them to print and we see what happens. So when you do this print, it prints to the console continuously, but print line adds a new line to the console. So that's it on variables. This is just an introduction part. So let's proceed with string templates. Remember, the main function is the entry point of our program. So let's declare variable name. Val name is equals to sum. Then let's print. So we are under string templates. So remember, I'm using this as an example to help you understand this better while you'll be referring to the documentation. Also, you can also follow along the video to understand much better where necessary. It applies. Okay. So your name is, you put the $sign, then name. So we are doing a template. We are accessing the name. Let me run this. So your name is Sam. So we are printing variables. So most case when you will be doing debugging in your program, maybe you want to check what variable is the value of that in your program. This is how you might be debugging, but there are more better ways of doing that. This is just a basic application of using string templates while debugging. So that's how we create a template, and we can also do this. Let's use an integer. Let's create an immutable variable. Let's say age is equals to, no, it's an integer. An integer is a number, 22. Control Z. Then let me copy this, paste it here. Then I'll say age is age. So that's how we print the number. Age is 22. Then let me change this one. Okay, let me proceed. No changing. So let's try printing another way of creating a string template. Let's do this. Print line edge. We add opening curly brace, closing curly brace. We still get the same result. Let me see. +1. So when you do this +1, remember edge is immutable. It can't change. That's why it's a variable. I mean, it's immutable variable. It cannot change. But using a template, we might be able to get a new output. Remember, this operation plus, it will be stored, but the edge won't be reassigned. Remember, immutable variables cannot be reassigned. Okay, so let's say next year you'll be 23. Yeah, next year you'll be 23. So when you'll be using loops, a loop, yeah, repetition of events until a certain condition is met. So that's when you might consider using that variable. You make it mutable, meaning it can be reassigned. So let me say edge is equals to 23. Then I haven't changed anything yet. So when I run, I'm expecting 23. So remember, edge has been reassigned to 23. And here we have that 23 plus 1. It gives us 24. Yeah, Kotlin is easier as that. We can also do this plus plus. Remember, this will execute only once. It's a basic program. Plus plus means this value plus 1. And yeah, that's how it's done. And most of the times you'll be using immutable variables. We don't want to have errors in our program. Okay, so that's basic introduction for variables. So the next step will be covering basic types. And the basic types, mostly it will be types of variables. So a brief lookup is, for example, when we are declaring edge, we specify type int. Int stands for integer. Then name, it's a string. So stay tuned for the next part, and thank you for watching. Have a nice one.